Your soul remembers what your mind has forgotten, and in the moment you first locked eyes with them, something ancient awakened within you, something that had been sleeping for lifetimes, waiting for this exact convergence of time and space and readiness. This was not a meeting but a re-meeting, not an introduction but a remembering, and your entire being knew it even as your conscious mind scrambled to make sense of the electricity that moved through your body like a recognition beyond words. They stood before you and every cell in your body whispered home, and you have never been the same since that moment, since that cosmic appointment disguised as chance, since that divine orchestration that your logical mind keeps trying to dismiss as coincidence. But there are no coincidences in the architecture of soul contracts, and this message finds you in the dark night, in the space between what was and what will be, in the void where faith is tested and strengthened and forged into something unbreakable. You are here because your soul guided you here, because on some level that transcends your conscious understanding, you know that what I am about to reveal to you is not new information but remembered truth, ancient wisdom that lives in the deepest chambers of your spiritual awareness. The connection you felt was not imagined, not exaggerated, not the projection of a desperate heart seeking meaning in emptiness. It was real, it was recognition, it was two souls who have danced together across multiple incarnations, finally finding each other again in this particular lifetime, in these particular bodies, under these particular circumstances that would force both of you to confront everything you have ever hidden from. Comment "My soul remembers" below to claim this truth, to anchor this knowing in the physical realm, to signal to the universe that you are ready to receive the deeper layers of what this connection came to teach you. Twin flames are mirrors, and the reflection they show you is not always beautiful, not always comfortable, not always something you are prepared to witness or accept or integrate into your understanding of who you believe yourself to be. Separation becomes necessary because the intensity of standing before that mirror every day, of seeing your unhealed wounds reflected back at you through their wounds, of recognizing your shadow self in their behaviors and patterns and fears, would break both of you if you attempted to remain together before the individual work of integration had been completed. You cannot unite in wholeness while running from brokenness. You cannot merge two incomplete souls and expect to create completion. You cannot bypass the sacred requirement of becoming whole within yourself first. Carl Jung understood this when he wrote that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And this separation is the universe forcing both of you into your own darkness, into the parts of yourself you have spent years or decades avoiding, into the shadow material that must be acknowledged and integrated before true union can occur. The pain you feel is not punishment but invitation, not rejection but redirection, not the end of your story but the necessary middle chapter where both characters must journey alone into their own underworld, face their own demons, retrieve their own lost fragments, and emerge transformed. This is the spiritual mechanics of twin flame separation. It is not random, not cruel, not a sign that you were wrong about the connection or the depth of what passed between you in those moments when your souls recognized each other. It is design, it is divine intelligence. It is the only way that two people carrying as much unprocessed pain and unintegrated shadow as you both carry could ever hope to come together in a way that creates sacred union rather than mutual destruction. The separation protects you both from destroying each other, from projecting your wounds onto each other endlessly, from mistaking codependency for love and enmeshment for intimacy. One runs from the intensity while one chases the connection. And this is not a moral judgment but an archetypal pattern that plays out across every twin flame journey. A cosmic dance where both partners are playing the exact role their soul agreed to play before either of you took human form. The runner is not the villain, and the chaser is not the victim. These are simply the two sides of the same wound expressing itself through different behavioral strategies, the same fear of intimacy manifesting as either pursuit or retreat, the same terror of being truly seen, either pulling you forward or pushing you away. Neither is wrong, both are playing their role in a dynamic that exists to surface everything unhealed in both of you, to drag into the light every attachment wound, an abandonment fear and intimacy block that has been quietly running your relationship a turn since childhood. The energetic push-pull you feel is not evidence of incompatibility, but evidence of two souls who know each other so deeply that they trigger every single defense mechanism both of you have constructed to keep other people at a safe distance. You chase because their withdrawal activates your abandonment wound, because their silence confirms your deepest fear that you are too much, too intense, too difficult to love. They run because your pursuit activates their engulfment wound, because your intensity confirms their deepest fear that intimacy means losing themselves, that love means being consumed. And so the dance continues, this ancient pattern playing out in text messages sent and not answered, in feelings expressed and not reciprocated, in presence offered and not matched, until both of you exhaust yourselves enough to finally turn inward, to finally stop looking at the other person as the source of your pain or the solution to your emptiness, to finally recognize that this dynamic exists not to torture you but to teach you, not to break you, but to break you open to deeper self-awareness and self-love. They run from their own reflection, from the version of themselves they see when they look into your eyes, from the potential for depth and vulnerability and raw emotional honesty that terrifies them more than any external threat ever could. You think they are running from you, but they are running from what you represent, from the invitation to dismantle every wall they have built, from the terrifying possibility of being loved not for the persona they present to the world, but for the truth of who they are beneath all the performance and protection. Loving you means confronting everything they have hidden, every part of themselves they have deemed unacceptable or unlovable or too damaged to show another person. And they are not ready for that confrontation, not prepared for that level of excavation, not strong enough yet to stand in the fullness of their own shadow without collapsing under the weight of shame they have carried for so long. They wanted to move on, they tried to move on, they convinced themselves they could move on, but something inside them would not allow it. Some deeper knowing that whispered, "Not this one, you cannot run from this one is different, this one sees you." And that seeing is exactly what terrifies them, because to be truly seen is to be truly vulnerable. And vulnerability feels like danger to someone who learned early in life that showing their real self leads to rejection or ridicule or abandonment. They are more scared of intimacy than of loss, more frightened of letting you in completely than of losing you entirely, because loss is familiar and intimacy is foreign territory where they have no map, no defense strategy, no way to control the outcome. So they choose distance, they choose silence, they choose the familiar pain of loneliness over the unfamiliar risk of being fully known and potentially abandoned anyway. But even as they run, even as they construct elaborate justifications for why this connection cannot work, or should not continue, or was never as significant as you believed it to be, their soul continues to reach for yours in the invisible realms. In dreams and synchronicities and sudden waves of longing they cannot explain or dismiss or rationalize away no matter how hard they try. This pain is not random chaos inflicted by an indifferent universe, not bad luck or poor timing or evidence that you are being punished for some unnamed transgression in this life or a previous one. This pain has purpose, has design, has been woven into the fabric of your soul contract with this person long before either of you inhabited these bodies, these personalities, these particular circumstances that brought you together and then tore you apart. You chose this journey before incarnating. You agreed to this level of intensity and difficulty and spiritual initiation, because your soul knew that nothing less than this magnitude of pain could crack you open enough to access the transformation you came here to achieve. Soul contracts are not written in the language of comfort but in the language of evolution, and you signed yours in full awareness that this connection would bring you to your knees, would strip away every false identity and every protective mechanism, and every illusion about who you thought you were or what you thought you needed to be happy. The separation is not a deviation from the plan but the plan itself, the necessary crucible where both of you are being refined, where the impurities are being burned away, where you are being prepared for a level of union that neither of you could sustain in your current state of woundedness and unconsciousness. Subscribe to this channel to receive continued guidance through the separation, to anchor yourself in the deeper truth when the pain threatens to overwhelm you, to remember the spirit. You'll purpose behind the human suffering. Pain becomes catalyst for awakening when you stop resisting it and start inquiring into what it is attempting to teach you, when you shift from victim consciousness asking, "Why is this happening to me?" to student consciousness asking, What is this making possible in me? The pain you feel is proportional to the transformation available to you, and you are being initiated into a level of consciousness that only this degree of difficulty could unlock. In the void you find your true self, stripped of all the stories and identities and external validations you once believed defined your worth or determined your completeness. This separation has taken you into the dark night of the soul, into that spiritual wasteland where nothing makes sense and no comfort reaches you, and you are forced to sit with yourself in a way you have avoided for most of your life. What this separation is teaching you cannot be learned through words or concepts or intellectual understanding. It can only be learned through direct experience of your own capacity to endure, to continue breathing when everything in you wants to stop, to find meaning in the seeming meaninglessness. The dark night is stripping away your codependency, exposing the ways you made another person responsible for your happiness or your sense of wholeness or your ability to feel valuable in the world. It is teaching you that you are complete already, that you were never incomplete, that the feeling of lacking something fundamental was always an illusion constructed by a wounded ego that confused connection with completion. You are learning to be whole alone first, not as preparation to earn their return through good behavior, but as the fundamental spiritual work of individuation, of becoming the fullest expression of your own soul regardless of whether they ever come back or not. This is the teaching that the darkness carries, the gift hidden in the devastation. You are learning who you are when no one is watching, when no one is validating you, when no one is reflecting back to you the version of yourself you want to believe in. You are learning to stand in your own power, to source your own light, to recognize that the love you have been seeking from them has always been available from yourself, waiting for you to turn inward and claim it. The separation has forced this turning, this homecoming to self, this recognition that you are not half of something waiting to be completed, but a whole universe unto yourself. Even in separation you are bound, connected by invisible threads that physical distance cannot sever and emotional walls cannot fully block, tethered at the soul level in ways that transcend the ordinary mechanics of human relationship. This is not metaphor but energetic reality. Twin flames share a frequency, a resonance, a vibrational signature that keeps them connected even when they are silent, even when they are with other people, even when they are convincing themselves they have moved on. You feel them in waves that wash over you without warning, in sudden certainty that they are thinking of you in the same moment you are thinking of them, in the uncanny synchronicities that keep appearing as if the universe is reminding you both that this connection exists outside the realm of choice or preference. Dreams carry messages your conscious minds refuse to send, telepathic downloads arrive in meditation, or in the space between sleep and waking, and you encounter signs and symbols and repeated patterns that feel specifically designed to catch your attention and remind you of them. Your souls communicate in ways the ego cannot block, in languages that bypass verbal exchange and logical understanding, in the realm where separation is revealed as the illusion it ultimately is. They feel you too, even if they never admit it, even if they construct elaborate defenses against the feeling, even if they fill their life with distractions and new relationships and anything that might drown out the persistent whisper of your presence in their energy field. The cord that connects you is not made of need or nostalgia or unfinished business. It is made of recognition, of ancient knowing, of a bond that exists because your souls chose to walk this path together, to challenge each other, to catalyze each other's awakening in ways that only the intensity of this particular connection could accomplish. Physical separation does not diminish this bond but often strengthens it, forcing both of you to feel the connection at the energetic level rather than the physical level, to trust what cannot be proven or demonstrated or controlled. Reunion is inevitable but not immediate, guaranteed by the structure of your soul contract but not constrained by your human timeline or your personal preferences about when and how and under what circumstances it should unfold. What must happen first is the completion of individual journeys that cannot be ruse. Or skipped or bypassed through spiritual tricks or manifestation techniques or positive thinking. Both of you must walk through your own underworld, face your own shadow, integrate your own fragmented parts, and emerge on the other side as individuals who have done the work of becoming whole within themselves rather than seeking wholeness through union with another. Reunion becomes possible when both flames have stopped running, when the runner stops fleeing their own reflection, and the chaser stops pursuing external validation, when both have turned inward and done the brutal, beautiful work of self-confrontation and self-acceptance and self-love. The universe will not allow you to reunite in brokenness because that reunion would only perpetuate your wounds, would only create the illusion of healing while actually deepening your patterns of codependency and enmeshment and mutual triggering. You are being prepared for sacred union, not toxic reunion, for a coming together of two whole beings who choose each other from overflow rather than from emptiness, who meet as equals rather than as wounded children seeking the parent they never had. The reunion will look different than you imagine, less desperate, less dramatic, less about filling the void and more about sharing the fullness. You will come back together not as two people who need each other to survive, but as two people who want each other because the connection enhances rather than completes, because the love flows freely rather than through the tight channels of attachment and fear. There will be ease where there was once only intensity, peace where there was once only chaos, recognition that you are choosing this rather than being chosen by fate or obligation or karmic debt. Share this message if you believe in divine reunion, if you trust that what is yours cannot be kept from you by any force in the universe, if you know in your bones that this separation is temporary and the bond is eternal, and the love is leading both of you somewhere neither of you can reach alone. Stop chasing and start becoming, because your sacred responsibility in this separation is not to convince them of your worth, or prove the validity of the connection or manage their feelings, or control their choices. Your responsibility is to yourself, to your own healing, to your own evolution into the person you agreed to become before you took this incarnation. Every moment you spend focused on them is a moment stolen from your own transformation. Every ounce of energy you direct toward changing their mind, or accelerating their awakening or forcing a reunion before both of you are ready is energy that should be flowing toward your own integration work. Your job is not to pursue but to transform, not to wait in stagnation but to grow in their absence, not to make yourself smaller or quieter or easier in hopes that diminishment will make you more acceptable to them. The twin flame journey demands that you become more of yourself, not less, that you claim your power, speak your truth, honor your boundaries, and refuse to abandon yourself even when they have abandoned you. This is the paradox at the heart of the journey. The more you become whole, the faster they return, because your energetic frequency shifts when you stop seeking completion through them and start embodying completion within yourself. They feel that shift even if they cannot name it, even if they do not consciously understand what has changed, because the dynamic that kept you locked in runner-chaser patterns begins to dissolve when the chaser stops chasing. Your wholeness calls to their wholeness in ways that your neediness never could. Your groundedness creates safety they could not find in your pursuit. Your self-love becomes the invitation they have been waiting for even if neither of you realized it. But this transformation cannot be performed as strategy to manipulate them back into your life. It must be genuine, must be for you, must be the real work of becoming who you came here to be regardless of whether they witness it or benefit from it or ever return to experience the person you are becoming. What is yours cannot be taken, cannot be lost to time or distance or other relationships or their current inability to see what stands before them. This separation is temporary even though it feels eternal, even though you have moments of despair where you believe you will never speak to them again, or hold them again, or look into their eyes, and feel that soul recognition one more time. The bond is eternal, written into the fabric of creation itself, existing before you met in this lifetime and continuing long after these particular bodies return to dust. You are not waiting for a person to change their mind. You are waiting for divine timing to align circumstances in a way that serves both of your highest evolution, for both souls to complete the work they came here to do, for the universe to orchestrate a reunion that neither of you could force or control or manifest through sheer will. This is the promise the universe makes to all twin flames walking through the fire of separation. You will find each other again, but not as you were before, not as two broken people seeking completion through union, not as the versions of yourselves that first collided in that moment of recognition. You will reunite as two wholes creating something greater than either of you could create alone, as two flames that have learned to burn independently before joining together, to create a light that illuminates not just your own lives, but the lives of everyone your union touches. Not two halves finally made complete, but two wholes choosing to walk together. Two individuals who have done the sacred work of integration and now stand before each other without masks or walls or desperate need, ready for the kind of love that only becomes possible after you have learned to love yourself first. The dark night ends, the separation concludes, the reunion comes. Not when you stop believing in it, but when you stop needing it to feel complete. When you have become so whole within yourself that their return is welcomed as gift rather than required as salvation.